Okay, once again, Mario with MI Microflight, and this is the front end of my go kart, the one that's mimicking the radio control one, but in full scale, done with 1.5 inch steel tubing, square tubing. So I just cut these brackets. I went and got some steel from Home Depot. This is 1.5 inch by 3/16, just a regular stock, and I grinded or I ground the you know where I bent this area right here. This is 1.5 inch with a little extra there, just so that I could establish this connection. These are going to be the C brackets or the spindles actually, which are in the shape of a C bracket. Not the typical traditional C brackets that you find in go karts, which are attached welded to the front bar. But this one is actually the C bracket that's going to have the bolt for the wheel, and this is pivoting like that on this bar right here. There are no angles here. I don't want to introduce angles here. I don't want to make it too complex on this one particular go kart, because it is just for fun. It's not like my other go kart that I did, which is more like a racing go kart. With AMT tubing and maker pipe connectors. That one has angles, camber. It's got camber. It's got caster. I think that's negative. Negative. Yeah, most of them have negative camber, and it's got also caster. So that's about. I think I put like 5-7 degrees of camber, and same thing for the caster. This one's just going to be straight, nice and clean, nice and easy. So this is how the brackets came out. This was a little bit of a. It took. This cost me quite a bit here. Not only in bending this, and this is the reason why I don't like doing this, because if you don't have the right tools, I mean, I do have a bender, but it's not it's not an industrial bender, a big bender that you can bend this easily. So I had to use a lot of muscle power, and in the process, I ended up paying for that. You can see that. I ended up slipping. As I was bending, I was trying to bend this with heat, just to make it to allow this to bend and not crack. But it actually cracked a little bit. But it still has enough meat there to retain the shape there. So I'm going to weld this. I'm going to put a bead of weld there, and that'll reinforce this section right here. Instead of cutting the pieces individually and then joining them, with magnets on a steel table, I wanted to minimize that effort there, and just luckily I was able to, like I said, retain that shape. It's got just enough material there to allow me to allow it to hold the shape, and allow me to put a bead here. It's going to be maybe a 1/4 inch bead of weld. So I'm going to do with that next. These are 5/16 holes right here, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to once I weld this, I'll be enlarging this hole. This is right now 5/16. That's going to be for a 3/8 bolt for a wheel. The wheels I'm using here require 3/8 bolts or 3/8 axles, so the bolt will be right here. It'll be a fully threaded rod with a head right here sticking out, with a nylock nut to support the screw, and then the wheel will go on top with another nylock. So that's how I'm going to do this right here. Actually, the wheels that I'm using here are a scooter front wheels. Those Razor scooter front wheels. Not the kiddie stuff, but the little more serious scooters. I think they're like 100, 200 maybe. So they're 8.5 inch pneumatic wheels by 2 inches, and this should do it. I mean, this is actually overkill in relationship to this aluminum tubing, because that tubing is only 1/16 thick. It's not very thick. and this is 3/16. So this is overkill. But I am going to have to support the inside here. So I mean, there's plenty of support there, and I made it so that it sticks out an inch from the center line of that hole to the sides here. Well, actually, these are 3/4, 3/4, 3/4, and this is 1 inch, from back to center line right there. It's got plenty of room right here to spin and clear the head of the bolt that will go through here. But I am going to reinforce this with some pipe. I'm going to cut a pipe, to to support the inside of this tubing right here. So that'll be much better support there. And I still need to attach the arms here. So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it from the same steel. I'm going to take a piece, maybe 6 inches, and cut it at an angle so it'll give me like a triangular piece, and that way I don't waste material, and I can get two out of a 16-inch by 1.5-inch square or rectangle. And then I'm going to weld that right there on the bottom here. So that'll be my arm, either at the bottom or at the top. I think, let's see, maybe, yeah, I may need to do this at the top because my steering is done rear steering behind this pilot seat, and so that has to swing like that. So that connection is going to have to be from the top to the arm right here. So the arm will probably stick out something like that on an angle here, or maybe not so much on an angle. Can I drill a hole right here just to get an Ackerman angle there, to adjustment there? Yeah, I may. Yeah, or just do it on a very slight, maybe 5-degree angle right here, and then drill a few holes here to adjust, make the adjustment for the steering and the Ackerman setting. So yeah, so that's going to be done in the next. I think I'm going to work on this on the next couple hours. Yeah, it's unfortunate that when I was bending this, I slipped, and Jesus, I put a nice scratch on my arm here. This bottom one right here, it's got about an 1/8 inch opening there. It's not very deep, but it'll leave a scar. It'll leave a that's what happens. Sometimes you get hurt. I got hurt yesterday right here by trying to work outside without a vise, and trying to speed up things. That happens, and I should know better because I typically get hurt, but it's very minor. It's about little scratches, little cuts. That you get sometimes holding bolts and things like that, and handling rough materials, but nothing major. Nothing major because I don't. I go anytime I work on something. I go with the mind that if you know how to tame the tiger, there's no need to fear it. But my mind is always working on on the tools, especially with power tools. But this was just an unfortunate thing that I ended up. I was on a weird angle in my shop, and I was bending this. And I as I was bending the pin that supports the arm that bends was not engaged all the way through the bottom hole, and that slipped. And when that slipped, I was putting all my body to the side, and I kind of leaned to the back, to the side, and I have a bandsaw table that's on the side, and I ended up scratching my arm right on the bandsaw corner there. So it's it's a scratch. I'm not going to worry too much about it, but it's unfortunate that happened while doing this, and I was just thinking about that. I go, I can't afford to get hurt doing these things. So think, make sure you think twice before you execute something here. But sometimes you miss those things. That little pin, just a half-inch bolt, the pins the arm, the bender arm, that was not engaged all the way, and that freaking thing slipped. So anyway. But I'm this close here. It's going to look really nice, I think, with once this is all together. This is I got so much of this material that I bought to do a gate in the front. I was going to do the whole gate with this kind of weld the whole structure, but I ended up not doing that because my gate was still intact, and I just needed a couple frames on the sides and reinforce the supports that go on the cinder blocks. So I did that, and that worked out very good. I got my I got my feet wet welding that, so I learned how to weld. I don't know if you can call it learning how to weld. I mean, I know how to solder, so it's nothing. There's nothing to be learned there, except that you're doing the same thing on a larger scale. But it does take a little bit of practice, with welding because you gotta maintain a constant constant heat so that it melts, so that it breaks down the materials. And once you get that material to break down with the other piece that you're welding, then you create this little blob of molten metal. And so you got to go kind of slow. It's kind of counterintuitive. As I was analyzing this, because as it's burning, you tend to think that, oh my God, it's burning too much, so you go faster, and and the point is that you got to go slower. My son-in-law, he's done welding, so and he kind of gave me some pointers on that, and he kind of pointed the same thing, and I go, yeah, you're right, because it is counterintuitive, because until you get the hang of it, you want to go. The point is to go slowly, depending on the thickness of the material too, because when you're welding, and that's the reason why I don't want to weld this thick material to this thin material, because guess what, this is going to, with the heat that is this going to require to melt that, this is going to wear out. It's going to poke a hole through. I mean, that happened to me when I was doing my gate. So I had to go really turn down the power, to the welder, and kind of take into account the thickness of the material. So it's a trial and trial and error type thing. You gotta dive in. And you gotta, unless you dive in and unless you do it, it's hard to understand. No matter how many people explain these things on videos, and they tell you, you just got to jump in and do it, and then kind of gradually learn the process and learn what to adjust. And by you're not gonna be a professional at first, but doing little by little, you're gonna get the hang of it, and you're gonna find that sweet spot. Anyway, Mario, once again with my air microflight. I got my C brackets finally, because this is something that I've been finding ways around not to do this, and I don't want to I don't want to bend, number one, because you see what happened to my arm, so I kind of dreaded bending bending steel like that. Uh, but I finally got it done, and and it, it's just buying. It's better to buy the raw materials, I think, and just if you have the equipment to bend it, to cut it. You not only have to have a bender, but you also got to have a grinder. You got to have you got to set up your grinder. My other video, I said I had to set that up, to cut precise cuts. You got to have good drill equipment, drilling equipment. Fortunately I have a nice Delta bench type drill press, which is not a full upright bench press, but it does have the power to go through steel, like this not with minimal effort, but with moderate effort. And you just got to have the right bits, and you got to have a lot of stuff to do stuff like this. And why I think it's not too many people get into this, get into do it yourselfers, because not too many people, number one, have all the tools that is required. I mean, I have seen some guys do it, barefooted and over dirt, and they work. It's amazing how those people that don't have a lot of tools, don't have a lot of resources, they get around these things. And I've seen them do stuff like that. So with moderate tools, you can do this if you take your time, you're careful, So I just be cautious, if you're going to bend things like that. Make sure that everything's right, set up right, and that you take precautions, because you can get seriously hurt, doing projects like this, which are a hobby. This is more of a hobby, but if you're not careful, you can get hurt. Anyway, Mario, once again with MIA Microflight. By the way, it's not Christmas. This is my favorite cup here. I like it because it looks like a tin can, the old-fashioned cups. And it's got these little speckles, so it kind of tricks my mind into thinking that I'm drinking from one of those old, the cups that you take to camping. So it reminds me of Reminds me of the times that my dad put me in Boy Scouts for I think it was like a few months. Then I stayed there. Then I kind of pulled away. I don't know what happened. I don't totally recall, but I think I just I told my dad, no, I don't want to do this anymore or something like that. But I did learn a lot of cool stuff through Boy Scouts. When I was 11 years old, I think it was. So anyway, stay tuned for the continuation of this project right here. Hopefully, I won't be getting hurt every time I make a part. All right, thanks for watching.